Hi, this is Rabbi Chaim Coffman. Welcome to our 123rd installment in the Torah portion of the week. We're holding by the Parsha of Bamidbar. Everyone now on the same page. We are starting a new book, the Book of Numbers, so everyone in the land of Israel and outside the land of Israel are going to be on the same page. Book of Numbers speaks about the numbering of the Jewish people, counting the Jewish people, not including the Levites. So it goes through the numbers of all the tribes, etc. And then it talks about where they formed and how they formed, etc. We spoke about that in another video about the flags, right? What the deal with the flags was. Now, speaking of something I think interesting, that that Torah says here, the Book of Numbers, chapter 3. It says, beginning in chapter 3, it says, these are the offspring of Aaron and Moshe on the day that Hashem spoke with Moshe Mount Sinai. These are names of the son of Aaron, etc. So it mentions the progeny of Moshe and Aaron. So Rashi there says, Rashi says it only mentions sons of Aaron. Right? It mentions the sons of Aaron. So what happened to Moshe? What happened to the sons of Moshe? And we find out that the offspring of Moshe, who taught the Jewish people Torah, that here, that it says, Abel told us Aaron and Moshe. Now the fact that Moshe taught them Torah teaches us that anyone who teaches the son of his friend Torah is as if he gave birth to him. Right? It's like it's his own son. Right? Even though it's not his son biologically. Nonetheless, Rashi says the Torah looks at it as if it's your son. Now, the question here is, why does it mention it as if to say he gave birth to the sons of Aaron? What about the rest of the Jewish people? Why single out Aaron? What happened to the rest of the Jewish people? So says Rabbi, Rabbi going to Moshe Torah Shlita, should be well. He brings down in Tam V'das in his commentary on Chumash, and he says Moshe Rabbeinu did not merit that his sons went in his path, went in the spiritual path. So what does that show? Moshe Rabbeinu, greatest of all prophets, God gives him his stamp of approval by giving the Torah Mount Sinai to give over to the Jewish people. Everyone knows how great Moshe is. What happened to his kids? Right? Why weren't they the spiritual heirs of Moshe? Gave over to the rest of the Jewish people. You know, whoever survived, right? It's like he taught everybody Torah. I mean, he did. So it's like he gave birth to all of them. What about his own sons? What happened to them? Says Mori Rabbi, you see that Torah has to be acquired. It's not something that's handed over. It's not something that's just passed down by osmosis. Torah is not a Yerusha, we've said many times. Torah is not an inheritance. But Aaron merited something that Moshe didn't. That Aaron's sons went on to be Kohanim. But it's not to say to elevate Aaron against his brother. Because really all the Torah came through Moshe. So even though Even though we see that whoever teaches his friend's son Torah as if he gave birth to him. So you say, fine, that's by Moshe and Aaron, and Moshe taught Aaron's kids, right? But then the question is, what about the rest of the Jewish people? He also taught the rest of the Jewish people. And what happened to his own kids? Right? So the answer is, it's not just Aaron had the merit and Moshe didn't. Moshe had the merit to teach all of Klal Yisrael, right? Teach the entire Jewish nation. Nonetheless, we see a valuable lesson. An unbelievable valuable lesson. And that is, no matter how much a parent loves Torah, now how much they put into their kids' education, right? Even if it's the best Jewish education. They live in a frum neighborhood, right? In a religious neighborhood. You got all the good things. The kid's not into it. Or the kid had a bad experience, or whatever the case is, and goes on his own path. It's painful. Right? It's certainly painful for a parent to watch. Certainly if they gave up everything, and seemingly by some hold by it, by others, they fall by the wayside. So that being true, you see no greater example than by Moshe himself. Because by Moshe himself, he didn't merit it. His kids didn't merit it. Now, usually, in any time something like this happens, who's the first person that gets looked at? The parents. Right? The Torah says what? Torah says, if you look at the book of Exodus, right? You look in the book of Exodus chapter 20, by Parshas Yisro, by the giving of the Ten Commandments, it says, verse 5, "You should not prostrate yourself to them, nor worship them," meaning false gods. "I am Hashem your God, jealous God, visit the sins of the fathers upon the children, third and fourth generations, for my enemies." Right? "But he shows kindness for thousands of generations, those who love me and observe my commandments." Now, there's an obvious question. The question is, if God is jealous, why is he going to visit the sin of the fathers upon the children? Even though we're third and fourth generation. But the obvious question is, they didn't deserve it. There's a problem with the parent, what does it do with the kid, per se. So the Talmud tells us, children are only punished, this only applies if they adopt and carry on this legacy. If the child learns from the negative things the parent does, then this curse occurs. Or, if it was in their power to protest, but they acquiesced to the lifestyle that was shown to them. Now, this is a little bit hard. Because the reality is, what's a kid to do? Kid lives at home, sees his parents doing different things, obviously disagrees with what the parents do, but can't do anything to stop it. So what do? They acquiesce. They acquiesce. And they give in. So they fall into the trap. Now you say, well, that's not really their fault. Because the father can have power. The parents can have power against them. So they're stuck living in that house. But it doesn't mean they have to give up what they believe in. Right? It doesn't mean that. I mean, the parents can make life extremely difficult. Obviously if the kid is underage and, doesn't work, it's got no money, so what can the kid do? That's true. We're talking about where the kid has an opportunity not to go in the same direction. Not to acquiesce. If he goes in the same negative direction, he's going to pay a price. Right? Because he shouldn't have gone in that direction. So what do we see over here? We see that a kid can go in their own direction. Can have the best education, best tutors, best teachers, and he flakes out. Has bad experience, bad influence, whatever it is. Let's say that, whatever the case is, tremendous pull of the street today. Right? They're still liable. They're still definitely liable for their actions. For whatever reason, they decide to go sour. So there are many different reasons why this can happen. Now, the purpose of this one idea is to show the tremendous responsibility the parents have. Certainly teachers have that, there's no question. Because the kids are, in school most of the day and not at home. The essence of their education is from home. Right? But they're away from the home most of the day. They get all this homework and other things. But the reality is, what they see, regardless of what they're surrounded by, regardless of friends and influences, whatever, if the home is strong, and the parents are strong, and they're going in the right way, and they're giving it over in the way that the kids can thrive, there's no pull anywhere to take a kid away. Unless, they get kidnapped or whatever. Right? There's no possible way. Because all things being equal, there will be no pull. Doesn't mean they won't have an evil inclination. Right? They have an evil inclination. Right? Nonetheless, if the parents do their job right, they educate in the same way. They give over the same values. They're on the same path. Doesn't mean they're perfect. Right? What kid's going to think the parents are perfect? Not too many. They'll say things, they'll do things. Right? But we're our own worst enemy. Because our kids see who the parents are. From a young age. They won't understand certain things. Fine, you can hide certain things. Once they get older, and they see things, impossible to hide. So they'll either act in a positive way, or they'll act in a negative way. Right? It depends. So the parents have to be on guard tremendously. Doesn't matter, they're going through a difficult time, whatever the case is. They have to be able to give over Torah to their kids in a way that the kids are going to want to keep it. And not for the sole reason that they're going to fry in hell forever. It has to be made real. Even if the parent doesn't like certain things. Let's say for argument's sake, coming up to the holiday of Shavuos, age-old custom, stay up all night. It's always a lot of fun for kids, drink coffee and soda and all this stuff. Try and keep them awake, the entire night. And pray vasikin, pray when the sun comes up. Etc. Let's say, a person doesn't like big crowds, in synagogue, doesn't like being in synagogue all night. Maybe the air conditioner is blasting, maybe it's freezing, maybe any other number of things going on. But he's got a kid that wants to learn with him at least part of the night. So really, they'd rather stay home. Let them learn at home. What's the big deal? Okay. There is what to be said, being around an atmosphere of a lot of people, and being part of it. True. There's something tremendous to that. But again, let's say the person just doesn't like it. Now, are they going to overlook what they don't like and do it for the sake of their kid? Or they're just going to say, no, let's just stay home. We'll learn here. You'll stay up as long as you stay up, and that'll be it. Still get the experience. Staying up all night and learning and whatever. But it's not the same. Right? It's definitely not the same. I mean, isn't it true? That's a younger kid. Let's say 7, 8. Not a huge thing. Learn with his father on Shavuos at night. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. For however long. They make a bond. They make a connection. But the father doesn't want to be there. Doesn't like it. Doesn't like the atmosphere. Whether he should or shouldn't, what the atmosphere is, I'm not even going to go into. Right? That's not really the point. The point is, for whatever reason, he doesn't like it. But the question is he going to overlook that and say, okay, I don't like it, but it's going to be a tremendous experience for my kid. And he's going to have the opportunity with all these other kids that are sitting learning with their parents, with their fathers. Right? And they get a prize and this and whatever, however long they stay up. And they feel part of it. So a lot of times, not just in this instance, a lot of times there's things we may feel uncomfortable with. It just might be our own hang-up. Whatever it is. So, unless it's something like totally egregious, let's say, a person's like totally afraid of crowds and, it feels uncomfortable, whatever the case is. Anxiety, whatever. If it's not something like that, and your kid wants to learn with you, doesn't matter you like it or you don't like it. It's what you should do. And even if you don't like it, put on your best smile and do it with a zest. Because that's something your kid will remember. That can be a tremendously positive experience. And what are you going to learn with it? Oh, so someone will say, what do I learn with him? Whatever he wants. Say, no, I want to learn this and I want to learn that. Forget it. Forget what you want. It's not about what you want. It's about what your kid wants. And if he's learning Chumash, he's learning about Genesis, he's learning about the Parsha, whatever. I'm sure he's got, plenty of things he's going to want to learn. Go over. That's where you learn. Right? He gets older, you learn other things. But that's how you develop a connection. I mean, there are other ways, to develop a connection. Not just through learning. What if your kid doesn't necessarily like to learn so much? You can't drag him to synagogue, he's not going to like it. Or you make it fun. Even if he's going to be there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Make it enjoyable. Right? It doesn't be there the whole night. It doesn't be there for an hour. Right? Some kids are more into it, some kids less into it. It's a fun time, though. Kids eat all kinds of, sugary things and, bouncing off the walls and whatever. It's an interesting experience. But that's what develops a bond. And some people ram it down their kids' throats. It's all about learning, learning, learning. Learning's important, true. It's the most important thing. That's what distinguishes the ultra-Orthodox community from any other community, any other Jewish community in the Orthodox world. Because the essence of Torah is everything. Learning is everything. Yeah, you have to make parnasa, you have to make livelihood, true. So we're not making livelihood, you better be, your wife better send you, to the base medrash to learn. That's your heter, that's your permissibility to learn. Is when you're not working. And your wife had a hard time, it's okay, you have to help out also a little bit, but you're not exempt from learning. Even if a person will fall asleep in the middle of a class at night and he's tired, whatever, it's important that his kids see that he goes. It's good that they see they have a connection to a Rav, to a community. But see, it's not all about that. That we have to import, so we have to impart, the love of learning, the geschmackkeit, the funness of Torah. I remember a friend of mine years ago, when he was deciding which school to send his kid to, he said he looked at all, a lot of the places. He wanted to find a place that had the most toys. Interesting insight. Why? Because one of the most toys, they're giving them, they're learning, but they're giving them a lot of fun also. And they need to have fun. It has to be geschmack. It has to be, it has to be enjoyable. It has to be something that feels a part of you. You're not just I'm doing it because I'm afraid I'm going to fry in hell forever. So my 20-year-old daughter got married before Purim. So, they went out a number of times before they got engaged, and so we were very much involved in help my daughter make a decision, about marrying this boy, etc. Or it's a young man. Sorry, can't call him a boy, but something I spoke about on Shabbos when we had all these festive meals with both families. They came to Beitar where I live. So I got up to speak, and one of the things I mentioned was something that my daughter had said while they were dating. And when they went out to different places, there are guys, that, very stringent, certainly to wear their hat and jackets. Obviously, if you're in the ultra-Orthodox world, certainly when you pray 3 times a day, no question about it. But when they go out to do errands and other things, some people are more stringent to wear a hat and jacket, some people less stringent. My kids will say that, if I go swimming, I'd wear my hat and jacket also. So that's a little bit far-fetched, right? I did see someone, separate swimming, with only men, going in with like long pants and a white shirt. I thought that was a little bit, okay. People go swimming like that. So, in any case, we're not even gonna go down that road, right? But in any case, one of the things my daughter said was, like one of the things my son-in-law mentioned. Okay, they got married, so it has a happy ending. But one of the things that he said was when they went out, about wearing a hat and jacket. Like my wife will say on, the intermediate days of, Passover, Sukkot, if we go out to parks or whatever, she'll say, one of the few people that actually, out wearing a hat and jacket, people who dress a little more relaxed, let's say, they'll say, they'll never have a problem finding me. I'll be the one with the hat and the long coat. Right? Pretty easy. So, whitish beard. I mean, not so hard. But anyway, not to digress here. But one of the things that he said, which, I told my daughter, is not a simple thing by any stretch. Again, some people more into things, some people less into things. When it comes to learning and dress and all that. And that is, this is part of me. This is what I love to do. Because this is who I am. Not because if I don't do it, I have an obligation to do it, I'll fry now forever. If I don't, this, that. Not about that. It was about a general respect and love for being who he is. And for being a Jew. So when a person makes it now, it just, makes me think, when you make the blessing in the morning, right, all you Jews out there, non-Jew can make the blessing also, if you're in the process of conversion. You say, God, the wellspring of all blessing, King of the world, created me a non-Jew, thank God for creating me not a non-Jew. Thank God for not making me a non-Jew. So they say, wow, what a sexist thing. Yeah, what's the thing we say after that? Thank God I'm not a woman. Gotta love that. Right? So, okay, stop throwing tomatoes at the screen. So what does it mean? It means, thank God I'm a Jew. I have mitzvahs. I have so many mitzvahs to do. Not that I don't have what to do. Not that, we spit on non-Jews. I mean, we do. Just, sometimes. But, just kidding. Anyway, what's the purpose of being a Jew? The purpose of being a Jew is clinging to Torah. It's clinging to God to do what he wants. Not because if I don't do it, I'm going to fry now forever. Right? Imagine that's where you're going to sit down the Passover Seder. Spend 2 weeks, months cleaning your house, cleaning everywhere where there's chametz or possible chametz of any leavened product. Sit down to the Seder, go through the Haggadah. By going through the Haggadah, what do we say? We reenact coming out of Egypt. The fact that had we, had gone out and taken this out, we'd still be there. All these different things. We go through the plagues. Explain about the 4 sons, the Manishtana. Why is this night different from all other nights? Because you're force-feeding me matzah. Well, that's one reason. And then you get to my favorite part. Favorite part is eating the matzah. Right? That's the essence of the mitzvah. You make the blessing over the matzah. Then you eat some more matzah with maror. Then you eat matzah with maror and charoset all together. Shake it off. And your kids are looking at this scene. Well, my house is a little bit of fun. Try and make it fun. And that whoever finishes has to try and whistle Dixie afterwards. So, or whistle whatever tune. And my kids don't necessarily know what Dixie is, so it doesn't matter. Right? But imagine, this is the night, or 2 nights outside of Israel, second night also. You're imbuing in your kids emunah, belief in God. Make it a little bit enjoyable. Right? The Rambam says, according to his Haggadah, he says, Chayev Adam laheira'oi ta'atzmoi. You have to demonstrate as if you came out of Egypt. Most Haggadah says lir'os. You have to see yourself as if you came out of Egypt. What's the difference? Same root of the word. Reish Aleph Hey. Right? It means to see. It's the same root. But it's a different form. The word lahei ra'os is piel. Means to demonstrate, not just to see. That's very different. Right? That's very different than just seeing yourself. Seeing yourself as you came out of Egypt. What does it mean? I have matzah in front of me. I have maror. I do the mitzvahs that are in front of me. And then I explain what they are. Then I explain about the plagues. What does lahei ra'os mean? To demonstrate, you might say, well, that's the same thing, isn't it? Have matzah, maror. So it says, Mori v'Rebbe. Rav Agon Moshe Moshlita should be well. Brings down his Haggadah Tam V'das. And he says, lahei ra'os means you're saying over the Haggadah with great joy. Great enthusiasm. You're singing God's praises. You're telling over the story. You're imbuing yourself with emunah. But see, it's not just for you. I mean, if it is just for you, fine. You got a spouse, you got kids. You got to make it enjoyable. So when my kids were younger, it was a lot harder. How do you make a Passover Seder for 4 kids under the age of 5? Sounds like a zoo. Yeah, that's what the plagues were, like a zoo. So we had to be, we had puppets. We got, we got animals. We got different things to act it out at their level. I can still remember. Why? But why do they remember that? Because it was fun. We were exhausted. I had no family to help me out. Or whatever. It was exhausting. Cleaning and preparing and exhausting for me, for my wife. But see, we gave my kids a blast. Because that's the night for them. You're tired. It doesn't matter. You want to pass this down. So this year had the merit to have the Passover Seder with everybody there. My 2 married kids there. my 2 grandkids, and it was wild. I got two very loud grandkids. One I think is almost 4. One is 3. One's actually almost 5, and one is 3 or 3.5. So, they're great buddies with my son, who's 7. Right, he's going to be 7. So these kids are not quiet. They must have taken after my wife's side or my son-in-law's side. Certainly not after me, because most people know I'm extremely quiet and shy. Anyway, it was just wild. What people had to say. And it was, my daughter just got married, so it was the first time, my son-in-law was biased for Passover. He saw different customs and different things and whatever. It was extremely lively. I mean, if you drink a lot, it gets even livelier. Right? So I always say, anyone who wants to see Elijah the prophet, you come to my Passover Seder. Right? Anyone's welcome to come next year in Passover. Anyone wants to come, more than welcome to come. So, the more I drink, the louder I get. Right? And sometimes I have to, might sleep off a little bit. Doze here and there, but, come back to life. Right? Nonetheless, what do they remember? My oldest daughter's 24. Right? So, people are going to ask questions. You have to, I have teenagers. So, you have to give over to everybody. So most people know, I certainly don't say things on my own. I certainly embellish, what other great people say. I definitely use my Rebbe's Haggadah, every year. So I'll say a lot of things, from it that he's brought down. So I always tell him, I have the Haggadah, I have the wine, I have the Rav's matzahs, right? I usually go baking matzahs with him. So I said it's almost like I'm at the Seder, the Rav, because of his Haggadah is like all the things he said over the years, at his Passover Seder. So he put it all in the Haggadah. So he said, yeah, almost. It's like almost. He's told me many times, almost, like you're almost there. Almost. Close. So, it was just wild. And that's what it's supposed to be. It's crazy. Getting everything together and everything organized, and, the kids are up late at night, and, we didn't finish till like 1:30, 1:45, and we were like, we're all finished, just like bombed, from cleaning and this, and like, just bombed with all the things we had to do. And it was right after my daughter got married. So, what they say, from the fire to the frying pan, or the frying pan to the fire, whatever it is. So we were all bombed. But at the end of the day, as I was high-fiving all my kids, I said, wow, this is a great thing every year. Why? Because they say you're sloshed by the first cup. So, 8 ounces straight down on an empty stomach. Eyes bug out. I get red in the face, yell and scream a lot. It's a lot of fun. So you say, okay, the fun's for you, not for them. But I have an obligation to educate. Right? Because what does the Torah say? The Torah says, you got it to Labincha. You got to tell over the story to your son. You don't have a son, you tell it over to your daughters. You got to tell it over to everybody. At everybody's level. Now trust me, when I was younger, and I was more tired from having to prepare and do a lot more, because my kids couldn't do anything, that was a lot harder. And the Passover Seder was harder. Because you couldn't give over things at a very high level at all. Kids are from the ages of 5 and below. So what are you going to tell them about the exit from Egypt? So you have to speak to their level. You may not want to do that, you're right? Kind of annoying. The 1 day a year, or 2 days a year, you're giving over all this about the plagues and emunah and belief in God, how He runs the world, how He intervenes. I want to give it over to a 5-year-old, like a 5-year-old. That's what you have to do. No matter what you like or what you don't like. Right? You want to pass it down, you got to make it real. And again, you see from over here, I digressed a lot, but because I'm good at that. But you see from here, there's an absolute obligation to give over to the best of your ability to your kids. And your kids are many different levels. Some more into things, some less into things, some more touchy-feely, some more into halacha, this, that, whatever it is. But you learn out from Moshe Rabbeinu himself. You learn out from Moshe Rabbeinu himself, the giver of the Torah to the Jewish people. Greatest of all prophets. And he wasn't able to pass it down to his kids. His kids went off the beaten track. So it just goes to show Torah is not an inheritance. There's no guarantee. How many people have told me and cursed me and said, we'll see what happens with your kids. I said, you're right, we will. And if all my kids stay in the right path, they'll say you were lucky. Will they ever attribute it to Torah and Torah education? No. They'll say you got lucky. But they'll say, we'll see what happens with you. And your kids. Now, let's say I have some kids that don't go in that right direction. Their choice. So, it can happen for any number of reasons. It happens to the best of families. At the end of the day, everyone's given free will. They can choose to be part of it. They can have bad experience. Any number of reasons. Why kids go sour today. I think it's a pretty big miracle. People stay on the path. Right? There's one other aspect which I want to speak about. Why is it the kids have such difficulty? One reason is because of temptation. We've never had temptation in this world today like it's ever been. It's never been stronger. Yeah, there were temptations for other things. Temptations, years ago for TVs, videos and all that. And if you wanted to watch it, you had to have it. Now you can just have it in the hand, palm of your hand and get it anywhere. A person's going to have a bad experience in yeshiva, in a girls' school. And they get bullied. I mean, there are all kinds of reasons why this can happen. And for whatever the reason, the parent has to intervene at some level. And it's hard. It's very hard. And the parents are ultimately responsible. It may not be fair if the kid gets, hooked up with bad kids or whatever. It's not necessarily the parents' fault. They had no control over that. We can't keep them tied up. They make their own decisions. But ultimately, we're held responsible. So, something tremendously lacking today, across the board in schools, is hashkafa. Jewish philosophy, we'll call it. And the mainstream plays all about doom and gloom. This is forbidden, that's forbidden, the other thing's forbidden, and they should be. But if you're going to forbid things, then you have to make things that are permissible fun. And you can't just say, you're going to fry in hell forever if you don't do this, you don't do that. Kids never going to love Judaism. Just the opposite, it's going to hate Judaism. Because all they're going to see is just a bunch of rules, and there are contradictions, and people do what they want anyway, and, people finagle the system, whatever. There are a lot of problems with the system that we have today. But it is the system that we have. So I'm always fond of saying if a kid comes out and they come out okay, it's also a big miracle. Because there are any number of reasons why they won't. So, the most important thing we can teach them is to love Torah. Regardless of whatever our situation in life is, and however difficult it is. Torah is not just about doom and gloom. Torah is clear. You do things wrong, you're going to pay for it. Right? You saw it last week's Parsha. By all the curses. And unfortunately, a lot of the curses have come true. I mean, all of the curses have come true. So, God wants us to have a connection to Him. But He wants us to do it in the right way. But it cannot be, well, you're going to go down this path, so you're going to fry in hell forever. If a person's going to fry in hell forever, they'll say, fine, at least let me enjoy myself. They have to have times when it's appropriate to have fun. And to have a lot of fun. Because the reality is, keeping a Torah lifestyle is hard. It's expensive. It's hard. A person's going to be constantly growing. It's a grind in a certain way. Is it, is it bad? No. It's tremendously meaningful. But you got to work hard. Because there are a lot of issues that we have to deal with. I think one of the most difficult issues is living inspired. That's a great book by Rabbi Kiva Tatz. Right, great doctor, became religious. Wrote a number of books. One called Living Inspired, one called World Mask. A book about how he became religious called Anatomy of a Search. And Google him. He's got great classes. Lives in England. Now he teaches for the JLA. I think he's still teaching for the Jewish Learning Exchange in England. He used to teach in Or Sameach in Jerusalem. I mean, I have a lot of his tapes I still have to convert to MP3s. Unbelievable. But that's what we have to do. You see, that's what staying up all night and learning Torah is. It's not just about the cheesecake. I mean, that is the most important thing, right? Cheesecake's more important than Torah, right? So, staying up all night is just not, it's okay, let's do the custom of staying up. It's going to be interesting, right? It should be fun, right? For your kids, certainly it should be fun. So even if a person gets tired or whatever, learn different things. That's what I do. I learn a whole bunch of different things. At least keeps me awake. Right? Talmud, philosophy, this, that. Things that are interesting. Don't read things that, don't learn things that, you're going to break your teeth on, you're not going to enjoy. Learn things you enjoy. That's what makes it enjoyable. Get it? That's what makes it enjoyable. Right? So this generation, it's all about Masha Libu Chafetz. Where I fit in, what my heart desires. You have to learn all of Torah, right? All the men out there that have an obligation to learn Torah, got to learn everything. And some things are more enjoyable than others, true. But the other things you still have to learn. But see, every day, you have to have the fire lit. And even though life beats us down, comes along Shavuos. Shavuos is not about dancing with the Torah. It's not Simchas Torah. It's not about finishing the Torah. It's about showing commitment. It's showing how much we love Torah. Why? Why? Because we're going to stay up all night and renew our commitment. Not to show we're finished. We're not finished. But we're showing how special the Torah is. We're not going to have God wake us up. We're going to be wide awake till we fall asleep during reading of the Torah in the book of Ruth. Okay, it's a different issue. But it's about renewal. So we as parents, whoever are parents out there, or teachers to others, you got to give it over in a way where they love it, where it inspires. People need to be inspired. This is my Hasidic side coming out, as most people probably figured out. Got to sing and dance a little bit more. No matter how hard life is. God made it that way. Deal with it. Get over it. But put all your being into loving Torah. I told my kids today, do not make 7 types of cheesecake. We can't eat 7 types of cheesecake. They said, what's the problem? We'll do what we did last year. We made 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever. And we'll eat them during the week. What are you worried about? Got all the ingredients. So who am I to argue? I'm not making them. I'll help eat them. Right? But that's what they enjoy. So what, I should stop them? If I think it's going to go to waste, they'll eat it, they'll freeze it, whatever. We'll eat it over time. But that's going to give them the tam, no pun intended. It's going to give them the taste of Shavuos. They'll stay up a little bit. They'll learn. Maybe I'll learn with them a little bit, whatever. But for them, that's an important thing. Right, and having this big, fancy milchah kiddush while I'm snoring away, with ice cream and who knows what, all these different cheesecakes. That's enjoyment of the holiday. That's part of it. Again, I'm making fun and saying, no, that's the biggest part. It's not the biggest part. But see, each person has to have their aspect of Torah. If it's about doom and gloom, and you're just going to keep things because you're afraid you're going to fry in hell forever, that's bad. Because you're never going to keep it. You want to live inspired. And if a person wants to live inspired, you got to work at it. Or you got to find people that inspire you and listen to them. Right? Everybody needs that. Especially in the, difficult days that we live in. So, yeah, Torah's all about cheesecake and blintzes, and other things. See, but we're showing how much we love Torah. We're showing how much we're makshiv, how important it is. But you see, for our kids and others, they want to see it. They want to see the parent that loves Torah, that sings and dances, even if they don't necessarily like to. They don't necessarily have a voice, or whatever. They want to see it. With all the tests and all the things, that they have to do, and etc. Let them enjoy. Let them see the enjoyment. Because if they don't see the enjoyment, then it's all about doom and gloom. And there's no, there's no reason for that. Because it's just going to kill them in the process. And part of what kids go through in the system is exactly this difficulty. Because they don't feel it. It's all about doom and gloom. You need doom and gloom. Right? We need perspective. But that's not the only perspective. We want our kids to love Torah. We want them to want to perpetuate it. To want to give it over to the next generation. If their parents and their teachers are not successful and do that, then we don't have a next generation. So I want to remind everybody that I have conversion classes, Noahide classes. I have a class on Duties of the Heart. That's live every week, Tuesday night, 9 o'clock. I have a class on Path of the Just. That is not live. Anyone who wants that, I can send them copies, or sample copies. I also have the Way of the Righteous. That's on my subscription website with a lot of other things there. My Rebbe's Torah, putting all my videos there, trying to organize and put like a one-stop place for all my videos and classes, etc. So anyone who wants to find me can find me on Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on Facebook. You can find me at orthodoxconversion.com, my blog. And anyone who wants to contact me at rabbichaimcoffman@gmail.com. RABBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com. Wish everyone a great Shabbos, and everyone have a meaningful Shavuos, and go easy on that cheesecake!